Hey, Clarksburg and surrounding areas. It's Gary Keith here for the Observer Live. I'm going to go through the local coverage of the upcoming winter storm and talk about some things that maybe you should be thinking about today. Looks like it might be a bad one. No reason not to get prepared. First of all, cue my intro. All right, folks, thanks for joining me today on the Observer Live. We're going to talk about this upcoming winter storm a little bit. First thing I'm going to do is pull up my desktop here. Boom. And let's see, I'll make myself a little bit smaller so I'm out of your way. And we're going to play this video just to give you an idea what's happening.
Everybody, as expected today, we saw.
Wait.
Good evening, everybody. As expected today, we saw milder temperatures across the area in those low to mid 30s across the I-79 corridor. A little bit warmer further south in Sutton, in Braxton County, and Buchanan and Upshur County, both at 44 and 45 degrees. And the wind chill is not as significant as we've seen over the past couple days. But what we do see,
all right, bro, let's get down to business.
From the previous couple days is precipitation. We're seeing rain and snow across the area. You see the winter storm watch. We also have winter weather advisories in effect. That's for this system. Winter weather advisories in effect for tonight, potentially bringing 1 to 3 inches of snow from this cold front, which is bringing that mix of rain and snow throughout the evening hours.
1 to 3 tonight.
Again, we're seeing that winter weather advisory just for the mountains, really. We're not really expecting any accumulations on out in the valleys, but for those mountains, we see those winter weather advisories in effect for potentially some accumulating snow this evening into Thursday morning. But for the most part, this cold front slowly will move through the overnight tonight. By tomorrow morning, we should see clearer conditions as far as precipitation is concerned, and by the afternoon, we'll see clearing skies, really lack of cloud cover by tomorrow afternoon, high pressure in control, with really no chance for rain throughout the day on Thursday, and as we'll look at in a second, really no chance on Friday as well. That mix of rain and snow will linger into those early overnight hours, but it should taper off overnight. By Thursday morning, we should see temperatures in those low 30s, warming up into the upper 30s by the afternoon with those clearing skies, and then dipping back down into the 20s overnight. As far as accumulation goes, as I said, between 1 and 3 inches in the mountains are possible, especially in Garrett and Tucker counties. As far as the rest of us in the valleys, really not expecting anything outside of maybe a trace of snow. As far as ice is concerned, potentially some slick spots on the roads, but it really just looks like mainly the mountains are going to get the worst of it for this event. But the thing to watch after a clearer day on Friday with high pressure in control and temperatures dropping back down into the 20s will be the potential for this major snowstorm over the weekend, potentially bringing heavy snow throughout Saturday and into Sunday as well, lingering into Monday with potentially some icy impacts Sunday night into Monday. And this is the National Blend of Models potential snowfall totals. Again, this is model data, so not a promise, but potentially between 10 and 12 inches of snow across the area, which is why we see this winter storm watch issued for our area for Saturday and Sunday into Monday morning.
10 inches actually went down a little bit. I thought they said 12 to 14
that mix of rain and snow overnight tonight, dropping down to a low of 32 degrees. As the wind picks up overnight, a high of 37 degrees tomorrow as we look ahead at a potential major snowstorm this weekend.
All right. Thank you to WBOY for that wonderful coverage. If you don't know, the governor, I also pulled up here, has declared a state of preparedness. I guess that means if it's bad enough, he'll do the state of emergency. That's for all 55 counties. So this is a pretty widespread event. I'm sure it'll be worse some places than others. You know, in Harrison County, sometimes we get the vortex effect, I think, from I-79 and Route 50. He used to talk about the vortex effect all the time on NASCAR. You know, all the carbon coming from all these cars kind of keeps the weather away sometimes. I don't know. We'll see. But hopefully we don't get it as bad. Like I said, that update we just got said 10 inches. So that's better for Harrison County than I've heard before. I was hearing 12 to 14, and that's a huge difference. That doesn't sound like a big difference, but the difference between 10 inches and, 12 to 14, that's a huge freaking difference. So here was something kind of interesting I wanted to talk about, and I'll keep WBOY's website up here so I can kind of go through their coverage of this, but it's kind of interesting. The name of this article was "Let's Get Serious About West Virginia's Upcoming Winter Storm," and it says internet memes and witty quips about meteorologists predicting 0 to 24 inches of snow Wednesday and Thursday, or never. They are funny. I won't read it all, but what they're talking about is why those estimates are off so much sometimes. So models change, blah, blah, blah. Let's get down to the interesting part here. So how much snow could 1 inch of rain produce? At 20 degrees, it's about 15 inches of snow to 1 inch of rain. At 25 degrees, it's about 10 inches for 1 to 10 inches of snow. And at 29 degrees, we edge closer to 8 to 1. So that's very interesting. You know, all these years that I've been paying attention to weather forecasts, I don't think I knew that. So, you know, here it shows snow ratios. 6 inches of snow is equivalent to 0.75 rain. Snow 5 inches, rain equivalent 0.5. So it actually changes with the temperature. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. So that's an interesting thing I just wanted to throw out there, because we've all seen, you know, especially a couple days ago, we were seeing a lot of 2 to 12 or 2 to 14 inches. It's like that's the easiest way to do a good job if you're a weatherman, it seems like. But I guess it's a pretty hard thing to figure out if you don't know the exact temperature. That's why I guess the forecast gets better as it gets closer. And of course, the forecast is the best after it happens. But anyway, you can see on this map, it's a limited impact towards the top. So it almost looks to me like, depending on how this thing moves, it could be a big difference of how bad it's going to be for us. You see that the southern part of it seems to be the worst, but I would think if the southern part came up, we would also have the warmest temperatures. So based on what we just read, the temperature being warmer would actually give us less snowfall effect. So I don't know. I'm not a weatherman. There is a winter storm watch in effect for basically our whole area. Right there, you see Harrison County's on there, and everyone around. And I'm not going to go into reading all this, but blah, 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 snow, it's going to be bad, be careful, blah, blah, blah. All right. Here's the big map I was talking about of doom and gloom. Just to kind of give you an idea, you see the mixed precipitation, freezing rain possible, which looks like what we're going to be in as of right now. And, you know, more of the snow and everything seems this direction. So I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong map here, but I don't know. Lots of information out there. Like I said, the best forecast is once it's on the ground. Anyway, folks, what I just wanted to talk about real quick, I will be out there doing my videos after it starts to snow, and I might even do it while it's snowing, but I might wait till the morning like I've been doing. But things that you might want to think about, I just got a list here in front of me that I pulled up that I think is important for people to be think about. Charge your phones, battery packs, laptops if you have them. You know, it's important to be able to get on the internet once you get bored. Fill your gas tanks. Make sure you have at least a half a tank, I would think, before something like this, especially if you have a vehicle that you're confident going out and driving. You know, you never know if power would be out or something. Check on your heat sources, your thermostat, your fuel supply if you have propane. Medications. Pick up your medications from the pharmacy today if you haven't done that. Bring your pets indoors. You know, if you got a dog tied up outside or you let your cats roam, you're not supposed to in the city, but lots of people do. Good time to bring those animals inside. And if you live on a hill like half of us do in Clarksburg, good advice from me, don't park on the hill. Perfect advice for me because I have a driveway that comes off of a flat street and then my front door is on a huge hill. So just be smart today. Even if you normally park up by your front door, good day to park in the flattest spot you can find. Even if it's not at your house, maybe park down the street. Might be easier for you to walk down the hill than it would be for you to drive down the hill if it's really bad, especially if you can walk in grass. Always remember that. I don't know why more people don't think of that. I always bring that up to people. Like at my work, people will walk out into the terribly slick parking lot and to walk over to their car when instead of just walking through the grass, it's like I would much rather walk on grass than the slippery parking lot. So think about that. If you have a hill to walk down, I'm sure your neighbors won't get too mad. Put your boots on and walk through the grass instead of on the concrete or on the blacktop. Um, at home, flashlights, candles, extra blankets, warm clothing, bottled water. You don't want to be drinking that lead water if you don't have to. A manual can opener. Ooh, that's an interesting thing. Keep faucets dripping if it's going to be extremely cold. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be that crazy cold for this event, but always remember that, especially when we get down in those 20s and teens and below that. I actually just talked to somebody about that on Facebook the other day. If you just put a tiny constant drip on your faucet, it will almost never freeze. And, I'm sorry about the water bill, unfortunately, but it's just a drip and it's just for a couple days. It's better than your pipes freezing, even if it does jack your water bill up a tiny bit. Make sure if your power does go out, keep your refrigerator closed, keep any freezers closed, because they'll actually hold their temperature for a good while as long as you don't let the energy out of them. Be careful if the power goes out. If you use a generator, never put it indoors. And don't try to bring like your gas grill inside and light that thing up. That is not safe. You will kill yourself. Seen that happen a couple times. Check on your elderly neighbors if you have them. See if they need anything. Avoid space heaters near flammable items. Make sure you got a clear path around your space heaters. Just talking about driving. I'm the driving safety expert. Have you guys have seen? Not only am I great at driving in snow, but I never run stop signs. I always wear my seatbelt. Never run red lights. Anyway, avoid unnecessary travel during a snow event like this, especially if you're not used to it, if you haven't driven in it, your whole life. Maybe you're just new to the area, or maybe you're a new driver. There's a certain talent to it. So if you don't have that talent, I'm not saying don't go out at all, because maybe you need to get out there and learn that talent a little bit, but be very, very slow. That's the thing. Be slower than you usually would be. Don't hit your brakes hard. That's number one thing you got to learn for driving in snow. Bridges and hills are always going to be the biggest problem. If you're not driving an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive car, you got to make sure you have a little momentum going up those hills too, because you don't want to get to the middle of the hill or near the top and then, run out of steam and then start going back the other direction. That's a bad situation. Been there, done that. I actually did that one time on the hill going to Liberty, driving to high school in my mom's car that was back wheel drive. It was a big old Crown Victoria boat. Up the hill, up the hill, up the hill, down the hill. Not good. I was learning. I don't think it would happen to me now. I don't think. Don't panic though. Don't hit your brakes hard. And when you're coming down a hill, think about downshifting your car to second or first if you have those options in your car, or if you got them fancy little paddle shifters, bring it down to a low number. Or if you have a manual emergency brake in some cars still, give that thing a few clicks. You don't have to push it all the way down so it's locked up, but you can click that thing a few clicks and, keep a little brake pressure on you as you're going downhill so you don't build up a bunch of momentum that you don't want. Because the whole idea is you don't want to hit your brakes. So if you can go slower, that's great. A big thing that I wanted to point out that I don't think a lot of people think about is plows. Think about the plow. For one thing, if you encounter the plows, try to stay out of their way. Number two, try to think about where they're going to be and where they're going to go. So maybe you don't park in a place that you usually park with your spectacular four-wheel drive to make sure that gets cleaned off instead of your car getting buried. And then you move back to that spot after the snow. Everybody gets mad at the plow drivers for where they put the snow, but where are they going to put it? I mean, you have to look at the limit of their technology. They're pushing snow with a big metal, plow. I don't know another word. They got a big wedge and they're pushing it down the road. There's not a whole lot of choice on where they put the snow. So it's going to block your driveway. It's going to block your sidewalk. It's going to bury your car in some cases, depending on how much snow it is, especially if it's a big snow. But you can think ahead and take care of those problems ahead of time. If the plow hasn't been down your street at all yet and you're going to be one of those people that gets really mad. You should probably just wait until the plow goes through before you start cleaning up, because it's going to happen. I mean, I used to live at the bottom of a hill. I lived at the bottom of Carr Avenue on Elm Street, and they would push all the snow down Carr Avenue, uh, right to the end of my sidewalk on Elm Street, and they just bury my sidewalk, and I have like 4 or 5 feet of snow. Like, it was crazy. Like, they would push all that snow right onto my sidewalk, and I just didn't clean that spot. It's like, too bad. I'm not shoveling 5 feet of snow or 4 feet of snow, whatever it was. But, just don't get mad at the plow. I'd rather have a pile of snow on my sidewalk than not get my road plowed. So give them space and plan ahead for what they're going to do. That's my advice on that. I also think it's important to mention during this event that it looks like there's a little mix of what we might be able to get here, of whether it's going to be snow or ice. And I'm here to tell you that ice storms are much worse than snowstorms. So if it does turn into an ice storm, be very, very super careful. Even if you're one of those Billy Bad Boys that's got a big 4-wheel drive, if it's ice, whole different ball game. Like, when I say be careful if you're not experienced at driving in snow, that is also serious for ice, because it's a whole different ball game. And it also is much, much worse as far as knocking out power. And that's why I wanted to talk about a little bit of those power things. Ice storms, especially if the rain is freezing on contact with cold surfaces in the ground, can be really, really terrible at attaching to power lines and transformers and adding weight to trees and power lines, and, widespread or even more isolated power events are going to be very possible. So just beware of that. And, no matter how good your 4-wheel drive is, if you get the real clear ice, like it's a real ice storm, not snow, much, much worse. The salt won't work as good, and zero traction. Like, just like I told you, to walk in the grass, if you got a big 4-wheel drive like I do, if it's too bad you're trying to get up a hill or something, you might want to put 2 of those feet in the grass. Been there, done that. Hopefully I don't make anybody mad when I'm crossing their property, but the DOH does have a right of way. So if I need to use the ditch or the grass to get up a hill, sorry. I lived down in Raleigh, North Carolina for 10 years, and I saw a couple ice storms there that were just the most crazy, amazing things I've ever seen. Like, just out of this world. And I've never seen one like that here. Not in my lifetime, at least, that I recall. Or maybe when I lived away, you guys had one, but not when I've lived here. Me personally, though, I think driving in the snow is fun. I actually enjoy it. That's why I started making those videos. Driving in the ice, whole different ball game, not fun. I actually saw a couple times people just completely Capitol Avenue in Raleigh, North Carolina. I saw one time, like, everyone on that road just abandoned their cars. Like, the next day when I had to go to work, down both sides of the road, in the median and on the outside, just like lines and lines of cars for like 15 miles. I don't know how all those people got home, but they just abandoned their cars. It was the most wild thing I've ever seen. It looked like the zombie apocalypse for real. But you never know what's going to happen here. I just wanted to give people a quick preparedness thing, just to give them things to think about. Worst case scenario, obviously, is the power going out. Depends on where you live. I live in Staley, and we have really good luck with the power over here. I think the grid is actually stronger on this side of town because UHC used to be here. It seems to make a difference to me. I see the power going out other places much more often. Like, it doesn't really go out here hardly ever. And when it does, it seems like they get it on really fast. But, just in case, think about living without power for hours or a day. They usually get it fixed pretty quick. For the most part, I'm talking to people who live in the city, I think, on this show. So if you live in the city of Clarksburg, they should get your power back on pretty quick. But, you never know. So think about things that you might eat if the power did go out. Think about no cook or low cook foods like, I don't know, peanut butter and crackers, granola bars, canned items, ready to eat soup. You could warm up with like a camp stove or something if you have one. Anything that you don't have to do a whole bunch of preparation with. Bottled water, very important again. You could also buy sports drinks or whatever, Gatorade. I don't know. It's also nice. You don't really have to have a refrigerator for your soda. You could put it out on your deck or just stick it in the snow. So that's always a plus as long as it doesn't completely freeze and explode. Maybe bring it in and out. Anything that could be eaten cold though. What I do tell people though, don't overbuy. You don't need to go buy 60 rolls of toilet paper or, batteries for the next 10 years. Don't go crazy. It's not that bad. It's not going to be that bad a snowstorm. I think it'll be pretty much cleared up by Tuesday or Wednesday. So we might have, we could have 2 days, maybe 3 days of being shut down. I would definitely think about your child care, maybe beginning of next week. It's good that it's happening on the weekend, but I would pretty much go ahead and anticipate there probably won't be school at least Monday and Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday. So maybe think about your child care a little bit. People who need assistance keeping warm. If you don't know, the First Methodist Church right there on 2nd Street, the big one, right beside the big parking garage in downtown Clarksburg, does have a warming shelter. I think you have to enter it from the back. It's like in the basement. You go in through the back. But, if you're in trouble and who knows, maybe your power does go out and you need a place to go, think of that place. Like I said, First Methodist Church, downtown Clarksburg on 2nd Street. Might be a good place to hang out for a little bit if you need a place. But that's all I got. All right. Thanks very much, Clarksburg and surrounding areas. Get ready for the snow. I think everybody will be fine. Like I said, I think it'll only last a couple days. And be ready on the News and Observer Live Facebook group, as you will see me doing live broadcasts on there. We'll get out and check out the snow and see how it's going. Maybe we'll even fire up the winch on the front of the Jeep and pull some people out if we need to. We did that couple times last snowstorm, and I forgot to turn the damn camera on. I don't know what I was thinking. Here I am trying to get views and clicks, and I forget to record something that cool. And if you need your sidewalk cleaned off, sure there'll be people out walking around doing it, but get that done, people. That's important, especially the closer you live towards downtown. People are going to be afraid to drive, and people need to be able to get out and walk. So, get to the bus stop to go out and get something like groceries or just something quick to eat or drink. You never know. Lots of people get stranded in a situation like this because they don't prepare and they need to be able to get out there and walk. So be a good member of the society. When you live in a municipality, you kind of agree to clean off your sidewalk. And, if it does turn out to be a lot of snow, don't wait till the last minute. Okay, maybe go out while it's snowing. When there's about 5 inches, 6 inches of snow, it's a lot easier to clean than a foot. So if you go clean it once and then go clean it again, makes your life a whole lot easier. Hit it with the broom while it snows. Maybe go out there and do it 4 or 5 times, and you'll never have to get the snow shovel out if you're lucky. And if you have a blower, it kind of varies depending on what kind of snow it is, whether it's, a heavy wet snow or a light snow. But take that blower out there, man. That thing is awesome. If there's only like, ½ inch to an inch, go blow that crap off and do it multiple times, and you'll never have to shovel if you do it right. Anyway, thank you very much for Thank you very much for tuning in to the Observer Live today. And I hope everyone keeps warm and does a good job on the snowstorm. Help your neighbors. Thank you.